This is Lonn Friend.
This is Monica Gray. We're for K Street Kate, doing an interview up at the bar. Nobody's here yet.
Well, downstairs people are assembling for a book signing.
Just kidding, it's packed downstairs, but Lonn has joined me upstairs.
Yeah, this is my release of Sweet Demotion, my midlife memoir, which has just come out, and I'm in Washington. I've been doing several signings here on the East Coast, in New York, Rochester, and now I'm in DC, and I'm going back to Los Angeles tomorrow because I have to see Cinderella at House of Blues. Oh. That's not the only reason.
You have to or you want to?
I'm just tired. Well, I want to. I love those guys. I wrote about them in the late 80s. So this brunette comes up to me and says, I need to interview you. And I said, okay. Because that's how I used to guerrilla people back in the day. I would just I used to have a spot on MTV called Friend at Large, and I would take this camera, back in the 8mm days, and I would take it all over the world, and I got interviews with everybody because they trusted me, and I was never intrusive. I talked about the music, right?
Right.
Because it's all about the music.
Well, what inspired you to write your latest book?
Well, that's sort of that's a hard question because I didn't think I was writing this book. Over the last 10 years, I've collected a lot of journals and documents, half-written chapters, piecemeal stories, all written with no destination. It's a sort of a manifestation of the artist's way, a book that helped me in 1999, where you just write without a destination. And over these last few years, I have been chronicling the falling apart time in my life. And it's where you go from making $250,000 to nothing. And what happened to you? Well, in the introduction to the book called Bitch Slapped by the Universe, you start going inward and analyzing, what happened? Okay, let's turn this into some music metaphor. Let's try to find out a reason why you aren't on top and why you are in the desert talking to boulders and taking trips up Highway 1.
You're referring to Vegas.
Yeah, and why you left your, left your family and how you'd done everything to sacrifice for your kid who you love and worship more than anybody else, and who goes to school in Washington, D.C.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's Megan Rose Friend. Both books are dedicated to her. This is like The Season in Hell. It's Rimbo. It's a little bit of Eat, Pray, Love with a rock and roll twist. It's me trying to make sense of me. It's first person because I'm the first person that I ever knew. And you're supposed to write about what you know. Well, I'm getting to know me.
Well, let's backpedal just a little bit. I read that you started off in the porn industry?
Yes, I started at Hustler magazine. In fact...
So how did you transition to music?
Well,
was that a smooth one?
It was, because it was an alignment of planets. In 1986, there was an idea Althea Flint had that Larry Flint Publications would produce something other than a porn magazine, and it was a rock magazine. So Rip magazine came out. But it started very slowly, and I was editor of Hustler and Chic at the time. I was doing big duty. I had done porn reviews and road trips with porn stars, and I wanted
Just a side note, how does one become qualified to do
It's not a matter of qualification. It's a matter of where are you and how are you evolving as a writer and as an editor.
Okay.
This is how my life evolved. Okay. I started in porn, like my hero Henry Miller, writing about erotica, and then there was this iconic moment in time, 1987. I became the editor of Rip magazine in its 7th issue, and a band came along that out of nowhere, and they were called Guns N' Roses, and they were hanging out with people on my staff. We had no clue, but I ran them on. I made a decision.
But you were the one who had the gut feeling about them. You were the one who spotted them.
I had people around me. I always trusted my staff. I trusted the instincts and of those writers who were living it. See, I'm a Beatles kid. I'm a Pink Floyd kid. I'm a Genesis kid. I'm a Who kid. Heavy metal came to me via Rip magazine. So I became the gatekeeper. But that's a long story, and that's a lot in the first book, Life on Planet Rock.
Okay.
Where porn segues, and I do have a couple flashback stories in this new book, Sweet Demotion, to show how the ethos of porn and the decadence was a perfect greeting card to the heavy metal community. Because when they came up to the magazine, when Motley Crue or Bon Jovi or Aerosmith or Guns N' Roses, when they came up to the magazine, they left with magazines from the other side of the building. They left with Hustler and Chic and Gentleman's Companion and Busty Beauties. And I became like the guy to build the porn library. So Lonn Friend was cool. He had long hair and he had a big beard. I'm speaking in third person
I'm with
now.
you.
And that's where this sort of evolved.
You were asked to be the judge on American Idol. What would you say?
Well, I'd say, wow, man, you're really good. You give me you put the jism in my schism. I'd come up with a Steven Tyler line because he is the last chapter in Sweet Demotion. He inspired Sweet Demotion, the title chapter, when I was helping him with his book in the fall of '09, and I love him dearly. And he got $18 million to take that gig. Would I take the job? I don't know. Because I'm not an Idol fan, never have been an Idol fan. I believe in the true, genuine artistic journey.